touring in Hokkaido. I'm on another rindo here. It's actually a continuation of the previous one. After that dam I stopped at. Just keeps kind of going like this. Technically it's a different number road now. I think it's 74. Could be 235 still, I don't know. But as I was saying, I switched back to earplugs because I found that having the music, it's kind of like cheating. It just kind of helps you tune out what's going on around you. And I think when you're really focused on riding, you do tune out what's going on around you and you just focus on the riding. But getting to that kind of state of awareness through music, I think it's kind of like cheating. I think you should get to that kind of state of awareness by being really focused on the ride, not by having music, distract you from all the little thoughts in your head. So I do that now, and that works. I like that, and it's very peaceful. Sometimes on long rides, though, it does get a little boring, and that's why I thought I'd talk now. I mean, the ride is not boring. I love riding, but not having anything, to say or to be said to you, being alone, it can be a little bit boring. Boring is not the right word. Isolated, and I like being isolated. That's why I go out here. But sometimes you just want to feel like you can share the fun of what you're doing with someone else. And it sounds weird, but by talking during these videos, I feel like I'm doing that. I'm still out here by myself, and I like that. That's what I want. But and I still like the peace of not having a bunch of things going on around me and people asking me stuff. But at the same time, and maybe this sounds kind of contradictory, I like being able to talk and share the beauty of what I'm doing and of where I am. I want to be able to say to people, hey, look at this. And look at these things that I'm seeing. And video does that, but being able to talk about it, on the video, I think adds to that somehow. I don't know. It sounds kind of weird, but anyway. So I'm still using the earplugs right now, but I'm talking to you, whoever's watching. So there was a big warning sign at the entrance of this rindo after the dam, the one that started after the dam, listing about 100 different things you shouldn't do and how you can be safe. And, Japan's kind of paradoxical because they'll let you do all sorts of stuff that in America you probably have a team of lawyers telling you can't do. Like, don't go on that road. It's very dangerous. We can't allow you to go there. We get sued, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, they'll let you do it, but then they'll put up a list of like 100 rules that you should follow. And no one follows the rules, unless they pick one and decide to enforce it. So like, for example, they say the maximum speed you can go is 20 kilometers an hour. That's something ridiculous. That's like, I can't even do the math on that, but it's low in miles. Hope I'm making the right turn here. And, I'm going really slow. I'm not a fast rider at all. I'm relatively new to rindos, so I'm even slower on dirt. And I'm going faster than that 20 kilometers an hour right now. I'm going 40. So I'm a beginner rindo rider for all intents and purposes. I'm really slow. I have few skills, and I feel perfectly safe going double the speed limit that they recommend. And then the rest of the stuff is like, don't litter, it's nature, be careful, don't take a turn too fast. All this stuff that anyone who's doing this kind of thing would just know, but I guess they feel better if they put it on a sign. You can still go and break the rules and get hurt, but at least they put it on a sign, and, that makes them feel better. So that's the way they do things here. I'm sure, an expert on Japanese culture and anthropology or whatever sociology could go into more detail, but, I think there's just a desire here to feel like, if you're in one of the authorities, to feel like you've created a lot of rules, regardless of what actually happened. If the rules get broken, who cares? But hey, I had a bunch of good rules in place, and they were good rules, and people, people should listen to those rules, and everything would be fine. Hey, it's not my fault if people don't follow the rules, but look at these great rules I made, aren't they nice? And you could say that kind of mentality probably applies to the whole nuclear reactor problem with TEPCO. I'm sure they had a bunch of great rules. I'm sure the government had a bunch of rules for how reactors should be inspected, and we know they didn't follow the rules. Now, if I get into trouble by not following the rules here, I drop my bike, and that's on me. And I think that's the way it should be. You should be able to take, responsibility for your personal decisions, as long as they mainly affect you and not everyone else. If you're a TEPCO and you're running a nuclear reactor, and when you make a mistake because you didn't follow the rules, half the country gets polluted with radiation for 50 years, and a whole bunch of kids are probably going to have an increased chance of getting cancer when they're adults. Maybe you should follow those rules, and maybe the government should make sure that those rules are followed. Now you could say, okay, well, nobody knew there was going to be a giant earthquake, and the reactor was fine. Well, first of all, look, it's Japan. Everybody knew there was going to be a giant earthquake. That's all people talk about here is we're overdue for the next big earthquake. At least that's what they talked about, before the March 15th earthquake. And frankly, they still talk about it now because they're not sure if that actually was the big earthquake because it wasn't centered in the Kanto area, which is where Tokyo is. It was more north and off the coast, out in the Pacific, up in the northern Tohoku region. So people still think there's going to be an earthquake here. So yeah, TEPCO definitely knew that there was going to be an earthquake sooner or later, and probably a big one. And then people say, okay, well, they knew there was going to be an earthquake, but not a tsunami. Well, come on, the word tsunami is Japanese. It's like the only Japanese word we use in English besides sushi. Of course they knew there was going to be a tsunami. And then, if you read a little bit more about this, I've read things saying that the whole idea that, the reactors were fine until the tsunami came in and shut off the backup cooling system, that's not really true. Apparently, the reactors were damaged from the initial earthquake. I think I read that in a report by Jake Adelstein, the guy who does all that Yakuza reporting. He wrote Tokyo Vice about his experiences as a reporter for the Yomiuri Shimbun, reporting on the Yakuza. So I guess he covered, he wrote a story or an op-ed or something on the nuclear situation. And, he found evidence from talking to people or whatnot that the initial earthquake is what really caused the damage. And the tsunami shutting off the cooling system, while that didn't help, was not really the straw that broke the camel's back. Because there was going to be a lot of radioactive leakage even without a tsunami. So, you've got a reactor that was not safe by any means because, the people who ran it and the people who were supposed to, make sure they ran it correctly, were not really playing by the rules. Okay if you're riding a bike, not okay if you're running a nuclear reactor. Man, this is nice. This is an easy rindo to ride. I think what makes a rindo easy or hard to ride is not the steepness, it's not the bumpiness of the actual road. A little bit of mud there, I'm sliding around. But I think what makes a rindo hard, in my opinion, is whether there are large rocks on the road. Like if a road is covered with fine gravel, like little pebbles, and they're pretty much even in shape and distribution, then that's no problem. But if you get a road that starts to be covered with rocks maybe half the size of your fist or larger, and they're all kind of jumbled around in different places, then the bike's tire, especially the front tire, at least in my experience, is going to start going this way and that, depending on how it hits the rock. If it hits the rock one way, it's going to go off to the left. If it hits the rock the other way, it'll go off to the right. Maybe if you hit the rock straight on, it just goes right over it. But you never know. And that kind of unpredictability is, for me, the hardest thing about rindo riding. And this, whoa, I got to get a picture of this. This is like Kermit the Frog swamp over here. Look at this. Luke, you must go to the Dagobah system. Jeez. All right, well, that was another episode, I guess, and I'm going to take some pictures of this this fetid swamp, which probably will look a lot nicer when I photograph it, I hope. Thanks for joining us.